we went on a trip with my kids last summer, and when they came back, they had to do a project. So they did a project and they did a presentation to each of their classes. So I got parents that emailed and called me and said, my kid wants to go to Vietnam. They never knew what Vietnam was, but now that my kids exposed it to them, they're excited about traveling, where these kids had never, had any exposure to Asia. And I think you learn so much more traveling than you do in the classroom, which we love our school, we love the classroom, but I think it's just different things that you can't get from a textbook. You can't, watch it in a video. You have to actually experience it. And that comes with traveling. One of the big things that we do when we travel is we try to get them we expose them to different kinds of foods. Like when you go to this country, they might not have rice. So then you have to eat whatever they have there, pasta or bread or whatever the main staple is. What I like about traveling is also, even though you go to Asia, there's different pockets of different cultures within where you are. So we were in Singapore, and we actually stayed in Little India. So my kids love the prata bread. Every morning that's what we would have. Even though we weren't in India, they enjoyed that food. So they talk about it to this day, like, oh, we'd love to go back there and have that type of food. So then I think that leads to, hey, let's go to India. That's where that type of food is from. We haven't been there yet. Let's go check that out. I like them to be exposed to different cultures, different food, different, different education, and how what they have is not the same as what other children have. For example, we have a lot of toys, where in other countries they don't have a toy. They have a sock that they've made into a ball that they kick around. And you know what? Those kids are still very happy. And they don't have to have the latest technology or the newest toy that's come out. And I think we don't understand that, being overexposed to it in America. Different things that we see, I kind of just pointed to the kids like, oh, do we see that at home? And then I kind of let them come up with their own opinions, or if they see something different that they've never seen before, they'll ask questions, which is really nice. We went to Vietnam, and I'm Vietnamese, so my kids went there, and they don't speak any Vietnamese, so they wanted to play with the kids that were there, but they didn't know what to say, but they were able to point, and kids are able to pretty much play without being able to communicate, which was really cool. So when we came home, they asked to learn the language because they realized, other parts of the country, people speak different languages. So it would be nice to be able to communicate through a verbal language other than, pointing. We were on the train in Europe, and you look around, and it's all these like college-age kids. And we were the only family there. And I don't think it's ever too late to travel. It doesn't matter how old or how young you are. And I think a lot of times when people have families, they're like, oh, we can't do that. But it's one of those things you just have to do. And it really change your life and your kids' life. And they're not a day goes by that my kids do not refer to our trip. Doesn't matter what it is. We could be going down the street, or they could see something and they're like, oh, we saw that on our trip. It's just, for me, that's just amazing, where before they would see it on TV or they would see it in an ad and they had no idea what that was, but now they have a connection with it. So I think with the traveling, you get a connection to the world. There's other people out there, there's other parts of the country. It's just one of those things that you just have to do.